Now, why is the Comey book an outrage? Well, people have a right to publish books, right? Well, they don't have a right to take documents out of the government and misuse them, which is what Mr. Comey did. Remember those memos he wrote supposedly about his conversations with the president? The president denies, I think, the accuracy of those memos, but he took those records with him. Those were FBI records. He wasn't allowed to take them. And in fact, he, by his own admission, leaked them to get a special counsel appointed to target the President of the United States. How do we know he wasn't supposed to take those records? A, as a watchdog organization, very much conversant with the law on records, we understand when you can take records and when you can't, when they're government records and when they're not. Secondly, the Justice Department agrees with us, because when we asked for the Comey memos for ourselves and the Daily Caller News Foundation, train going by, the Justice Department came back at us and said, A, you can't have them because they're Mueller's investigation records now. So again, protecting Mueller. Secondly, you can't have them because our argument is, look, at least the Flynn memo was a memo that supposedly memorialized a conversation Comey had with President Trump about General Flynn. He authorized the leak of that memo through a friend to the New York Times. So the New York Times gets to know about the memo or get the details of it, but not a public interest group like Judicial Watch or the American people, or our client, the Daily Caller News Foundation, or CNN, who's also suing. And the Justice Department came back to us and said that leak was unauthorized, and they compared it to the WikiLeaks leaks, which were all crimes. So you've got the Justice Department saying that Comey, not in so many words, indirectly committed a crime, yet nothing's done. And so he takes these records, he leaks them, he steals them, he leaks them illegally, and now he's using these same records to write this book about President Trump. And the book isn't even out yet, but it's being reported on, so I haven't read the book, but it looks interesting to me in the sense that Comey, at least according to his interview with George Stephanopoulos this week, talks about the meeting he had where he talked about this dossier, the Clinton DNC dossier with the president. In my view, he was trying to blackmail the president, saying, hey, I got this dirt on you. It was a meeting he set up with the president to be alone with the president. And then raised these outrageous issues in the dossier about prostitutes in Russia. And the president, according to Comey, was upset about it and said you should investigate that because that's not true. And somehow that is seen as unusual by the liberal media who hates Trump and James Comey who hates Trump. But Mr. Comey didn't tell him that those allegations came from the Clinton DNC dossier, paid for with campaign funds to discredit him, laundered into the FBI and Justice Department, that came from sources in Russia. So you've got the Russians targeting Trump with malicious lies, and James Comey walks into, doesn't tell him about it till just about before he's about to become president. And the president and Trump is the bad guy for reacting strongly to it. The president said today it was his great honor to fire Comey. Comey was right. He was right to fire Comey. I mean, Comey did so many things wrong. In the book, he acknowledges that one of his decisions about whether to talk about the Clinton investigation, which I don't think he should have been talking about, was based on the fact he thought Clinton was going to win. Politics. See, this is the thing about Comey. He'll go after anyone. He'll go after anyone. He went after Clinton while protecting her at the same time. So he went after just enough to say, hey, look, I'm independent, but not enough to do the right thing and prosecute or recommend a prosecution. Not that it was just his job. I mean, the arrogance of this man is astonishing. And I guess my concern is the legalities of what he's done and what he did. And when you look at the hatred that Mr. Comey has for President Trump, it's easy to understand why his FBI and Justice Department was ruined ethically in terms of being misused to go after President Trump. You had Comey, who was a Hillary Clinton, Mr. McCabe, who was compromised. You had Peter Strzok, who was an anti-Trump, pro-Hillary Clinton activist. Same thing with Lisa Page, a top lawyer, top deputy to Andrew Comey. No, Andrew McCabe, excuse me. So this is we've got this major crisis over at DOJ and FBI that's been exposed in terms of the past with the Obama administration with the Comey book. Because Comey has demonstrated he was a terrible FBI director, and the president should have fired him even sooner than he did. But secondly, with the raid on the Trump office, the Justice Department and the FBI are still in crisis. So, and compare and contrast the treatment of President Trump's lawyer and that attack on President Trump directly with the treatment of Hillary Clinton. By the way, Hillary Clinton's lawyers had government documents they didn't have a right to have. They destroyed government documents. They had classified documents they didn't have a right to have. There's evidence they may have been involved in encouraging someone to lie to investigators. No raids were done of their offices. There's more than enough evidence by that this Justice Department and this FBI have. Can't blame it on Obama. The point is that the Justice Department and FBI have more than enough evidence to arrest Hillary Clinton now over her mishandling of classified information and other crimes. But they don't want to take that extraordinary step. But they're happy to target President Trump. So this is why President Trump should consider pardoning everybody. And I know people will scream about it, and it's life. He can pardon people by virtue of his office. The Constitution gives him that right. Comey wants to impeach him or indict him. There's no doubt about it. He's found no evidence of collusion. In fact, there's no evidence even of obstruction of justice, which supposedly was the other issue he was looking at. You know why I think that's the case? Because why else would Comey have been allowed to get this book out there? We've sued, by the way, for records about the approval of this book. Isn't that interesting that the Justice Department approved the publication of this book that used documents that looks like that he stole from the FBI? FBI records on the President of the United States that he concocted, I think. But Mueller wouldn't have let him go out there if he was a key witness against President Trump in a criminal case. I don't think even Comey would have done the book if he thought he was needed as a witness, which suggests that there is no obstruction charge to be had against President Trump. Shut it down. Shut it all down.